Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. The entitlement of trespassing onto someone else's driveway and then demanding the owner of driveway fix it so they don't get stuck when trespassing onto their driveway? Seems like this neighbor's the only one who'll ever use your driveway, OP. Not the city, not delivery people. So yeah, he can drive around your snow, get stuck in it, or shovel it himself. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Told my neighbor that if he wanted to use my driveway, he had to shovel it. The houses on my block have a service road in front of them and an alley behind. I don't like parking in the back of my garage and then walking all the way through my garage and then my yard, then coming in the back door. It's a pain in the butt. I always park in front of my house because my truck will not fit in my garage. My neighbor's garage has doors that open towards my driveway, but my doors point towards the alley. Together, we have a massive driveway. The nice older couple that lived there before had a snowblower and would clear off both driveways. They didn't do this for me as, like I said, I don't use that driveway at all. The reason for them doing this was that it's a very tight turn from the alley into the garage, so to make it easier on themselves, they would clear my driveway and then they could basically drive straight into their garage. When they sold the house, they gave me the old snowblower as a gift. I, in turn, gave it to my father because I'll never use it. I have a very short front walkway and the sidewalk's covered over by pine trees. I can shovel my front walk in 10 minutes tops. So we had a large dump of snow yesterday and my neighbors shoveled their driveway, but not mine. When they got home, they tried to just drive over the snow on mine. They got stuck in their little sports car. So they came over after they got unstuck and told me that I needed to shovel my driveway. I said no, said I wouldn't be using it all winter, and that if they wanted to drive over it, they should probably clear it off themselves. They called me an irresponsible jerk and said they were calling the city. Good luck with that. As long as my trash is in the proper container at the end of the driveway, the city does not care. So I just shovel a strip out to where I need to leave my garbage. I was talking about it with my dad, and he said that he would come take care of it. I said no, because I don't like being told to do anything. If they'd asked me, I probably would have done it, or more likely gotten my dad to do it. And our second story. Customer demands TV satellite dish be reinstalled on the ground after roof is replaced. Then wonders why his TV won't work. This is a story told to me by a coworker at a satellite TV installation company that I used to work for years ago, and I've since quit. Absolutely horrible company that treated its employees like dog crap. To help you understand the dilemma, I'm going to lay out some very basic groundwork here on how satellite TV works so that you can understand the dilemma that he was faced with. Context. When we install a satellite dish, we use a special inclinometer to determine whether or not our satellite dish's view will be obstructed. Each region is given a specific azimuth, elevation, and tilt that serves to identify the actual satellite in orbit and to prevent us from installing a non-functioning system. Actual story. With that said, our boss called my coworker to assist with a satellite dish relocation because a customer replaced his roof and they tore the satellite dish off the old roof when the new roof was put on. My coworker arrives and the customer tells him that he would like the satellite dish to be put on a pole outside. He says, fine, where would you like the pole mount to be placed? The customer points to an area of his heavily wooded backyard and says very sternly, put the satellite dish right there beneath the trees and point it that way toward the sky. I don't want to be able to see the satellite dish. It's pretty ugly. He walks over to the spot, all the while knowing this isn't going to work, uses his inclinometer, had to make it look like he tried, and says, sir, this isn't going to work here, or anywhere on the ground for that matter. The satellite we're aiming for is past these trees and your TV won't get signal. It'll need to go back on the roof. Customer. Well, then point it the other way then, angrily shouts the customer. Technician. Well, it's not going to... Customer. How's it not going to work? The sky's open, is it not? Do you just not want to work or what? That's a brand new roof. Additionally, I should mention that Tech drove an hour and a half for this. The tech was patient and tried to reason with him, but kept cutting him off before he could explain himself. He would still have an hour and a half drive back for a total of 3 hours. He was not getting paid by the drive, only by the job. And the boss rearranged his schedule since he was the closest and one of the few techs to have the proper equipment since the warehouse kept such poor stock of the pole mounts and cement. The company essentially screwed him and wouldn't have coughed up the money if the work didn't go through. So he did exactly as the customer said. He placed the satellite dish exactly how the customer wanted it pointed at the sky, and right after that, the technician left. And the customer was happy. Well, happy right up until he went to turn on his TV and got the error code 771, signal loss on satellite. The tech didn't pick up his phone for the customer when he tried calling, and then eventually the boss called and asked, "Why didn't you put the satellite dish on the roof?" Tech: "I tried to explain it to him. I tried reasoning with him. I told him it wouldn't work where he wanted it, but he absolutely insisted it would because of the clear sky. So I gave him what he wanted. Customer's always right." The boss sympathetically says, "Yeah, but you know that's wrong." In the end, the customer's TV was out for the next 2 weeks, and he absolutely deserved every bit of it. From what my coworker told me, the boss didn't hear the end of it from the customer when the customer called in to complain, but my coworker told me that the boss absolutely deserved it because the boss was giving him crap all week. Edit. I should also mention that we got paid by the job. The company wasn't going to compensate him for the time spent setting up a non-functional satellite dish, so he overrode the mandatory SAT test that was failing through tech support to close out the work and get paid. Where the customer wanted it took time. Mounting an 8-foot pole, 3 feet deep, mixing 50 pounds of instant concrete for pole, waiting for concrete to set, 30 minutes, building the dish, pointing the dish, and running wires. If he took the 2 hours to do all this and the customer canceled because he didn't want it on the roof, he would not be paid at all. There's no easy way to show the customer that an area does or doesn't work other than explaining the inclinometer, fancy compass for azimuth and elevation to determine SAT position, and pointing the SAT position in orbit. The other way is to install a dish, but the inclinometer is used to stop you from installing a dish in a bad spot. All of this would have been unpaid work. He wasn't going to do all this and then relocate the dish to the roof after the customer found out he was wrong. He forced it closed and got his money. He said it was likely that the customer service told him that the pole mount was entirely possible and that setup was unrealistic expectations at the job. Edit 2. When crap like this goes down, we used to be able to apply an hourly rate request and have it approved for crap like this. Needless to say, they stopped approving these requests. We got paid $23 for service calls. Sometimes it was easy as changing the HDMI input. Other times elbow grease was involved and we had to repeak the dish. In some cases, the techs got put on a job that became a 4-hour rebuild and only got paid $23 for the full 4 hours. There's a lot of shady crap that they did, including signing up customers without their consent for protection plans so that the boss could win a trip to Vegas. And our last story. Neighbors sued us for cutting down our own tree. This January, we had a giant oak tree cut down in our backyard. Prior to this happening, we informed our neighbors as we had to have lots of trucks and a crane blocking the street and my driveway for short periods of time during the day they cut it down. No one said anything or seemed to really care. The tree was a huge hazard. All winter, we've been experiencing small limbs falling, and we were starting to get concerned for one falling onto our house. We did have the tree trimmed every other year, but one big limb finally fell on our patio after an ice storm, crushing our furniture and patio awning. As soon as the weather allowed, we had the entire tree cut down. We discovered that the tree was actually very unhealthy. Most of the inside was decayed, and there was a giant crack down the center of the base. Seriously, a ticking time bomb. This definitely saved our house as well as our neighbors' homes. Fast forward to the summertime, as our yards are coming into bloom and the heat's rising our AC bills. We did notice our electric bill was a little higher as we no longer have the usual shade of the tree. A small price to pay for our safety. Our next-door neighbors have essentially a botanical garden in their backyard. They're retired and spend a lot of time working on their yard and landscaping. The tree branches had previously reached over a bit of their property, but more significantly provided a lot of shade over the house and yard. Apparently, now that their yard has gone from partial sun to full sun, A large amount of their flowers and shrubs were unable to thrive as usual. Their electric bill is also affected. Mr. approached us a few times over the summer to tell us how selfish and rude we were to not consider how this would affect their yard now that there is significantly more sun. Their house is also featured on our township's garden club annual tour, and they decided they could not participate this year due to the significant losses. Another neighbor, a much more reasonable one, said that he had approached them and asked if they would be interested in teaming up to sue for costs of lost landscaping and electric bills due to us cutting down the tree. He said no and then told us, just in case they decide to actually sue us. I realize this sounds completely insane. I can guarantee that the entire base and roots of the tree were on our property. No question, it was smack in the center of our yard. All that touched their property was the afternoon shade the tree provided and a few feet of branches. We did inform them of this happening right at the beginning. I don't believe this is our fault that we prefer to spare our house and lives over their landscaping. In fact, we probably spared their own home by cutting this tree down. If it fell in their direction, it would have definitely hit their house too. We aren't really friendly with these neighbors. They're always looking to complain about everyone. A dog barks too loud, not cutting the grass often enough. Another neighbor had their driveway repaved. That was not to their liking. Once we had a party with about a dozen people and they called the cops because we parked on the street in front of their house. 100% legal street parking. Everything anyone does makes their life more unpleasant. Those people are insane. They sued. I did call the tree company just to confirm any documentation they have for cutting down the tree, and they still have it and said they were more than willing to assist us if there was a problem. We also saved all pictures we had showing how bad the tree was. It was enough to win in court. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.